So, first video for a while. Again, sorry, I've been nuts busy again, but we won't go into that. Yeah, I've got a bit of a poorly Spectrum sold to me as untested, and yeah, it's pretty much in the condition it was described to me in that it is missing a couple of keys, and the seller doesn't know if it works. So I can't really complain about the condition of it, although it does look like it's had a bit of a whack in transit because a couple more keys have fallen off. Did mention, I think, yeah, he said the spacebar was no good. In fact, the spacebar's all over the place. I'm hoping that that's not broken. I'm hoping just the stabiliser bar's come adrift and that's all it is, because I bought this because I do have other spare part cases with the necessary keys on so I can repair it. The problem is they're all spare part cases because the space bars are all funny on them, so if I can't repair this, then I've got a problem because I don't have a replacement for that. But anyway, never mind. I suppose in this video we'll do a little evaluation. We'll strip it down, we'll see if the thing works, I suppose, and we'll see if we can clean the keyboard up, sort out that space bar, I suppose. Let me get some tools. I'm going to need a screwdriver. Bear with me. Let's have a little look inside. Oh, look. We've had a... let's see if I can get that to focus. We've had a repair at some point. So this is a service seal. Please do not remove or your guarantee will be invalidated. Speakeasy Communications. I wonder if they still exist. Probably not. Okay, let's break the seal then, I suppose, because there's a screw under there that I need to get to. And we'll see what sort of repairs have actually been made. God, it is battered, this case. It's really scruffy underneath. It's really scratched. It's missing a foot. I might have one of those actually, so I'm not too worried. Well, I mean, if I'm the first one to break the seal, at least I suppose I'm the first person to open this up, since it was, you know, professionally repaired. But we'll take a look at that. Not that I do anything particularly professional either, so I'm no one to talk, but we'll see. It'd be interesting to see if this thing works, because the guy said it was untested, which could mean anything from genuinely untested to plugged it in and it didn't work, so they're not saying anything, or they were unsure as what they were looking for. Who knows? But I'm going to go out and make a prediction and say this probably will work, based on nothing but the fact that a lot of my Plus machines generally do. I don't know why, it's the rubber keyed ones that seem to fail more for me, and the only reason I can think of for that to happen is there's less cooling in the rubber keyed case. I don't know. Well, that's a little prediction. We'll see. Yeah, what have we got? What is that? Issue... God, my eyesight's 6A. Okay. Fairly late one. Yeah, it's had a couple of replacement caps down there. They're not original. As for the rest of it, it looks pretty clean. Yeah. Right, what to do next? I suppose what I'll do is I'll put a quick composite mod in. And you really shouldn't do this, but I'm just going to throw some power to it and we'll just see what it does. And that's the composite mod in place, and yeah, it's booting to the logo. So, I mean, that's all the testing I've done with it, so it might have other issues, I don't know, but it seems to work okay. So yeah, it must have been a genuinely untested machine, I suppose. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the keyboard membrane's dead, but that's kind of a given with these things, isn't it? Anyway, what to do with it next? I suppose it's going to need a full recap at the very least, and I'll probably replace the regulator, the linear one, for a switch mode one as well, just to keep the heat down in the case. Maybe put a few heat sinks on some of the chips. Certainly the ULA. I think there's room to do that in the Plus case. Yeah, I'll probably do that, but that probably won't be part of this video. I think for this video I'll just concentrate on the keyboard itself, and we'll see if we can get that looking a bit more decent. See if we can figure out what's going on with that spacebar. Okay, let's have a look at the keyboard then. The missing keys I'm not too worried about, because I do have spare keys, so that's not an issue. Spacebar, I don't have a spare one. That might be an issue if that's bust. It might just be the stabilizer bar. I don't know. We won't know till we get into it. Keyboard membrane is probably dead. They usually are, but even if it's not, I think I'm just going to replace it anyway. And the whole thing could do with a wash as well, really. It's disgusting, but yeah, let's tear into it. Let's strip it down and let's see what we see. These are... And this is where I get controversial and people pull a face at me, but these are, in my opinion, the best Spectrum keyboards. And, right, they don't have the charm that a lot of people associate with the rubber keyed Spectrum. And they don't have the same tactile sensation as the later Amstrad units, which for typing is probably a better keyboard. The reason this is my favourite and preferred keyboard is purely nostalgia. This is the keyboard that I grew up with, albeit the one I had was a 128K Spectrum, but it's the same keyboard. It was brought out in, I suppose, response to criticism to the early rubber keyed Spectrum, saying that it didn't have a proper keyboard, this, that, and the other. Which, yeah, you know, I mean, I like the rubber keyed Spectrums, but they're not the greatest thing for typing on. But then again, I suppose if all you're doing is playing games, they're fine. So they brought out this, which was supposedly a more professional style keyboard, very much based on the Sinclair QL design. So if you've ever seen one of those, it's almost an identical setup. And again, this is where people shout at me in the comments section. These aren't the best keyboards either, because they're still kind of a rubber keyed Spectrum. Effectively what you've got, if you've got a rubber membrane underneath a plastic key, and we'll strip it down, you'll see what I mean by that. But it is a step up, I think, and personally it's a design that I quite like, but it's not, again, the greatest keyboard to type on. If you want an 8-bit computer with a really great keyboard to type on, get an Acorn Electron. Possibly an 800 XL with the mechanical keyboard. They're pretty good. But then, I think when you consider the price point that these things are aimed at, I think it's a good compromise. I think it's a perfectly acceptable keyboard, even if it isn't the greatest. So, construction is as follows. You've got a backing plate, which is sometimes metal. In this case, it's plastic. Then you've got the membrane. And then you've got your rubber keys. So they don't do away with the rubber keys. They're just hidden under plastic keycaps, that's all. And then we've got the... Oh God, things are falling out. God. that was my fault. Yeah. As I picked them up off the floor, you have a plunger, which then connects to the key cap on the top, and that's how that works. Right. Didn't go far. Oh yeah, and they fall out if the keycaps are off, so it's as simple as keycap pushes on the plunger, plunger acts on the rubber mat, which is effectively the return spring, rubber mat presses on the membrane, and a key press is recorded. That's not a particularly complicated way of doing it. It's a very cheap way of doing it. It doesn't give the best tactile sensation, but it doesn't matter because it works. And if this thing cost £500-600, that would not be good enough. But it didn't. They were, what, £149 when they came out? Something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a good compromise in terms of price and performance, and I think it works quite well. It is an improvement over the rubber keyed model. Please feel free to crucify me in the comments over that one. But in my opinion, it's an improvement. But it's not perfect either. It doesn't give a wonderful typing experience. Again, please feel free to criticise me in the comments over that one. But anyway, yes. Oh, the stabiliser bar has sprung out, and I don't know if that's broken up. I need my old man glasses on. Let's see if we can click that back into place, because that might be all that's wrong with the space bar. It might have just fallen out, which is kind of weird. You've got to wonder how that's happened. If I put a bit of tension on, that seems better. We might have got away with that without any damage. That surprises me. I was expecting to find an issue there. But I'm going to take it back off again now because I want to clean it. That's bizarre. I've never... Every time I've seen a broken spacebar on one of these, it's usually because one of the plastic tabs has bust off. It's not normally that the stabiliser bars come disconnected. So I don't know how that's happened, unless somebody's tried to prise the key off from the top, maybe. That's possibly what's happened. I don't know. Anyway, let's strip it down. And let's get it cleaned up, I suppose. So there we go. Do you know what I could do with a couple of pots to put these things in? Bear with me. There we are, a couple of pots. So let's get the plungers in one, keys in the other. Let's start breaking this thing down. So, what's dropping out now? Okay, so I'm going to do maybe a bit more of a chatty video this time. So, sort of, where have I been? What have I been up to? I don't suppose it's really relevant. Let's just say I've been extremely busy lately, and life's been hectic. It will continue to be hectic, and that's all I'm going to say on that, really. What else? Oh, yeah. I deleted Twitter. So, I don't know, for any of us who are following each other on Twitter and you think I'd suddenly deleted or blocked you, I haven't. I've just deleted it altogether. And good riddance to it as well. I don't particularly appreciate what it's become. It seems to be full of hate speech more than it was already. And I can't be doing with it. So, yeah, I deleted that a month or two ago, something like that. I was barely using it anyway. Yeah, I do have an account on Mastodon, although I've only just got back into that account actually. I was locked out of it for months on end, nearly a year in fact, and I finally managed to get my password reset and I'm back into it now. So if anyone's been talking to me on that and I've not responded, I'm very sorry. I wasn't ignoring anyone. But you know, how can I be not too crude about this? You know when you're really dying for a crap and you eventually go and you think, oh God, that's so much better. That's what it was like when I deleted Twitter. It's like, oh, thank God for that. And good riddance to it, and I haven't missed it since. I don't miss the platform itself. I don't miss an awful lot of the people who are on it. I don't miss all the gatekeeping. good riddance to it. And not just in the retro community, but there were a few of them who have had to block over the years, or I just find what they're saying so utterly offensive that I've had to unfollow them. You know, people you think would know better but seem not to. I can't be doing with it. I did set up an account on, what's the other one? Threads, yeah. So I've got a same username, I've got an account on there as well, although I've not really used it for much yet. It seems fine. It seems pretty much the same functionality that Twitter had. Although the only thing is that I've noticed some of the same cretins seem to be coming over from Twitter and setting up accounts on there as well. That's not a problem, I just don't interact with them, I suppose. I've not had to block anyone yet, which is nice. But yeah, I'm on there if you're interested, but I don't post very often on there either, so... Still trying to build up a little caucus of friends and followers who I can bounce ideas off in the retro community. And please don't take anything I'm saying as too negative on the community either when I'm talking about Twitter, because 99.9% of people I interacted with on Twitter were great, but there was just that 0.1%. It kind of ruined it. And I won't be going back to it. But anyway, right, we're nearly done with this. A few more keys to go. And we can get the whole thing in for a bit of a wash. Yeah, well. I don't know how well that's going to come up on the camera, but that's pretty grim. So that can go for a bath. The keys can go for a bath. And then we can reassemble with a few new parts once everything's dried off. Cool, I'll bring you back then. I think we're there. Everything's been scrubbed, so the case is clean. The keys have been in the ultrasonic and they've come out nice and clean. So reassembly, I think. Yeah. I don't remember where everything went. So let's start with some of the more obvious keys, I suppose. Put the plunger in first, and then it'll be one of them. Start with the cap shift. Why not? Lovely. Right, just need to do that several more times and my keyboard's back together. I've also included, especially when I did the cleaning, I included the new keys that have the replacements as well, so they're all scrubbed and cleaned up. I think I've got all the ones I need. So yeah, let's put it back together and let's see how long this takes. So usually I speed through this bit. I'll film it and then I'll speed it up later, but I might just chat to you this time. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else is on my mind. Oh yeah, I was thinking, because I don't have an awful lot of time at the moment to run this channel, that the best thing I can probably do is maybe start another couple of channels, because clearly I'm some sort of idiot. So I've been thinking about, and I'll run this by you, I was thinking about doing more of a gamey channel. So it'd be more partly retro gaming with sort of point and click adventure games, maybe. It's not the sort of content that would naturally fall in with this channel, I don't think. I think people might come to this channel for different reasons, so maybe put it on a different channel. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I put it on the same channel. I don't know. But the other thing I was thinking of including were more modern games, and I was thinking of doing some like VR stuff as well. Quite into me VR gaming, so that's something I was thinking of doing. Again, I'll probably keep it on a different channel, because it's not really strictly the same thing, is it? Let's try and get this space bar in, shall we? So I don't know, just food for thought. I don't know when I'm going to have the time to do it, or even if I'm going to do it yet. We'll just see how things progress. But I'd like to. The other thing I was thinking of doing is just go completely off track here. I'm quite hedgehog obsessed at the moment. So a few months ago, I had this. I let the dogs out into the garden, and the little spaniel was barking his head off. He was going absolutely nuts, and he usually does that when he's heard another dog. He's quite territorial, or if he's seen a bird in his garden or something, he hates that. But he wouldn't shut up. So I went out, and he was barking at this poor little ball that was trying to cower underneath the step in the back garden, and it was a poor little underfed hedgehog, and it was out during the day, and that's not normally a good sign for them. So pulled the dogs in, and I left it some food. I left it some dog food, actually. I sort of quickly googled what they could eat if it was struggling, and they said, you know, at a pinch you can give them dog food. So I did. It went away, but it did. I spotted it on the security cameras a few hours later, and it came back and it ate the entire plate, this thing. And it started coming back every single night. So what I've done is I've built a couple of little hedgehog houses, and I've put them at the back of the garden for them, and I've actually bought some proper hedgehog food as well, and I've started feeding them, and now I've got 3 of them that come in on a very regular basis. Plus the resident rat, which seems to have turned up as well, but it's not causing any problems, so I'm not going to worry about it. So yeah, it's like a sort of hedgehog, I don't know what you call it, soup kitchen, I suppose, I'm running at the moment. Lovely little creatures they are, and I bought myself a couple of little wildlife cams, those cheap little waterproof things you see on AliExpress with the night vision. They're really good. You get some really good shots with them. In fact, if I get round to it, I'll put some up now and I'll show you. So yeah, I've been filming them just for my own amusement more than anything, and I'm quite enjoying it. I'm quite enjoying the interactions with them. They've started using the houses now as well, which is good. But yeah, they're just lovely little creatures, and from reading up and look at other YouTube channels and things, and I didn't realise this at the time, but they're actually on. Why won't that go in? There it goes. Yeah, hedgehogs, they're actually in the vulnerable to extinction list in the UK at the moment. Sorry, vulnerable to extinction. Did I say that properly? Yes. So they're endangered, and it's due to, well, mankind, I suppose. You know, we expand farming and what have you, and it's having a knock-on effect on hedgehogs' natural habitat, so it's a problem at the moment. So I would say if you see them in your garden, feed them, because they could probably do with it, because especially when it's coming up to winter, because they need to have a certain weight behind them, and if they haven't got that, they won't survive hibernation all the winter. Or what can happen is if they're underweight as well, they will come out of hibernation early to try and look for food, and that could be really bad for them as well. So yeah, I've tried to make my garden as hedgehog friendly as possible. Why won't you go in, you awkward little the fiddly thing? Right, there it goes. Yeah, try to make my garden as hedgehog friendly as possible, which includes I've shortened a couple of fence panels at the back, and at the back of my house is like a little, it's like a rough bit of ground, and then there's like a little wooded area as well, and I'm pretty sure that's where they're coming in, so I've made it a bit easier for them to come in and out. S key, sorry, I'm trying to figure out where these keys go and talk to you at the same time. So yeah, so I've done that. I've got the hedgehog houses, I've put the food out daily, and I've got a little community that seems to have developed around these hedgehogs now. And I was also toying with the idea of putting a little channel together for that as well, which is radically different from anything retro related. So, but I thought I'd mention it, you know, see what thoughts are on that. I'll put some footage up actually if I think of. And you can see exactly where I'm coming from and what I'm talking about. But yeah, they're adorable. Adorable little animals. They really are. So that might be something else I want to do that I don't have time to do at the moment. What are we looking at? Caps lock. Where the hell does that live? There. Yes. Okay, this is probably going to take me a little while. So I might speed through this and bring you back when I'm done. Don't know. Delete. Yes, that goes over there. Don't think I had anything else to update you on. No. Oh, that's the other thing, yeah. This will be... I've lost count of how many spectrums I've got now. And it's getting kind of ridiculous. But I'm getting to the point where I've got so many of the bloody things, because I keep seeing them on eBay and I thought, oh, you poor thing, I need to rescue you, don't I? You look in a poor state. And usually I'll overpay for something, and... But that's fine. It's my hobby. I don't smoke, I don't drink. I'm not judging those of you who do. All I'm saying is, I you know, I spend my money on things I want to spend it on. Focusing. So I'm not spending it on a lot of other things, so I spend it on retro. But I've got a ridiculous collection of computers now, and it's, you know, I've got so many Spectrums, it's ridiculous. And I don't know whether I want to start selling things off, but every time I think about it, I think, oh no, I get attached to them. So things like this, I'll take something that's a little bit scruffy, and I'll spend a little bit of time, and I'll try and make it nice, and hopefully make it function correctly as well. And then I feel an absolute sense of ownership to it, and I don't want to let it go. On occasion, very rarely, I will give things away, and I'll generally give it away to a member of the community, someone who's a friend, or they've done me a favour in the past, maybe something like that. But I don't like selling these things on. I don't know. It's weird. I don't like the idea of a complete stranger having it after I've spent some time fixing something up. But maybe I should. I don't know. Because I'm probably sitting on a few quid's worth now, because I started collecting before it was kind of popular. So I started doing it sort of early mid 2000s, and you could, you could get an Amiga for 20 quid back then without any problems. Try doing that now. So it's a collection that's cost me next to nothing to build up, but I could probably make quite a lot of money if I sold things. I don't know. I just don't know if I want to. I kind of like having my collection. I don't know if that's makes me a hoarder. I don't think I am. I love a good throw out, but just when it comes to things like this, I don't know. And there's still more I want to get as well. There's more computers I don't have that I want. So I'd love, for example, I don't know, I'd really like a Sam Coupe, but I think I've got 2 chances of getting one of those, haven't I? I'm not prepared to spend 1,000 quid or so on one for the rare times they do sort of pop up for sale, and I think my chances of falling over and finding one are very, very, very limited as well. But yeah, that would be nice. I'm always thinking of something else I want, but I've tried to cut down what I've been buying lately. I mean, I bought this, ages ago now, and it's just been months ago, in fact, and it's been just kind of sitting in the to-do pile for a while. In fact, I've got a few things like that. I've got a couple more Spectrums. I've got an Amiga 600, which boots to the startup screen, and I've not tested it any further. I don't know, but I want to do something with that. I want to recap that because the caps get a bit iffy on that, don't they? I know the keyboards can be a problem on those as well, so I might upgrade the keyboard. Yeah, I've got projects. They're just kind of sitting there for when I get the time. But yeah, it's coming together quite nicely. What was the other thing? Oh yeah. Now, I want to ask you about this because it's behaviour that really ticks me off. And I'm seeing it more and more. If where you work is anywhere like where I work, you have an internal electronic notice board, like an intranet. And it has things like, the directors' blogs on it because they all think the celebrities, don't they? That sort of garbage, office news, that kind of thing. But it also has a for sale / wanted part as well. And this is where it starts annoying me because there's a couple of people in the organisation who I think are kind of taking advantage a little bit, really. So I can be talking to a colleague, for example, and I'll say, I'm really into retro computing. And they'll say, oh, really? Well, I've got a Spectrum, or I've got a Commodore 64 in the attic. I'll bring it in for you. You can have that. And here's where you tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but my reaction to that is I have to go back and say to them, well, that's very kind of you, but these things are actually worth a little bit of money. And I'd love to take it off your hands, but it's probably worth approximately X amount, but it's flexible, and it depends on condition and working and all that. So yeah, I'd love to take it off your hands, but please let me buy it off you because I don't feel comfortable just taking it. Which usually leads to a bit of awkwardness because they probably don't want to take any money for it. They've just tried to, make a nice gesture to me. But I don't feel comfortable doing that. If I'm taking something off them that they think is worthless and I know it isn't, that feels dishonest to me. So I always have to tell them, and I don't feel comfortable just saying, oh yeah, bring it in, I'll take it off your hands. It feels like I'm taking advantage, and I don't want to do that, especially when they've offered me something out of kindness. So usually what happens is it gets awkward, and sometimes they'll bring it in, they'll insist I don't pay for it, which is very, very rare, or usually you just never hear it again. It never gets mentioned. And that's me. That's my ethics. You may agree or disagree. The problem I've got, going back to this, the notice board they have in work is, and a couple of people have done this now, and there's one guy who posts like every couple of weeks, and it's usually along the lines of, are you having a clear out? Are you sorting your attic out? Well, I'm looking to collect retro video games and computers. I'll take them off your hands. And I just think it's really, really dishonest, that sort of thing. If you'd put a post in it said, look, I collect retro stuff, have a look at your attics, if you're having a sort out, I'll buy it off you, because these things are going up in value, it wouldn't grate me so much, but it just feels like these things are going up in value all the time, and people are exploring other avenues to get hold of computers and things, and games. And maybe I'm doing them a disservice. If they're going back to these people and saying, oh great, you've got something, let me buy it off you, that's one thing. But if they're just saying, as the tone of these adverts are, let me take it off your hands, I'm kind of doing you a favour helping you clear your crap out, that seems a little dishonest to me, and it really grates me. It really does. Yeah, and like I said, there's one guy, he seems to post every couple of weeks, so presumably he's getting stuff from kind-hearted people who simply don't know the value of what they're giving away. I don't know, it just seems a little unethical, but you tell me, what do you do in these situations? And now, don't get me wrong, if I went to, like, a car boot sale, and somebody was selling, I don't know, a Commodore Amiga for 15 quid or something, I'd probably buy it, and I probably wouldn't say anything, because I think if you're going out to sell something like that, then I think the onus is on you to make sure that you're pricing it correctly. But I think when it's your colleagues and they're just, they're just trying to offer you something nice out of the kindness of their own heart, I think you've got a duty to tell them that these things are worth money and not take advantage of people. But I don't know. Let me know what you think. Anyway, this is more of a weird video for me, isn't it? It's kind of a yappy one. Anyway, let me put the rest of this keyboard together and I'll bring you back when that's done. There we go, that's better. So it's just a sprint to the finish line now. That looks an awful lot better, doesn't it, with all its keys in. So, and there's no real fading in the white lettering either, so yeah, you can't tell which ones I've replaced and which I haven't. They all look pretty much the same, so that's good. Okay, next. Right, rubber mat. Now, what I could do with doing, I'm going to use the feet for this, is just suspend it slightly so the keys can hang. It just makes it a little bit easier to get things lined up. Rubber mat. These can cause problems. I don't know if I've got a decent replacement. Sometimes they lose the springiness. And I haven't found a good way of restoring that yet. I've tried boiling them and all sorts and cleaning them. It doesn't seem to work, but we'll see how this one goes. I don't know how good it's going to be. So that's in. Next we need a membrane. So that's the old one. Actually looks okay. It might be okay as well. But if it hasn't failed yet, it will. And at this point with these computers, that's basically a service item now, so it's not even worth putting it back in. I do have a nice new one, a brand new one, so we'll throw that in and I'll send that flying because that's what I do. So that should just locate, and then where's my backing plate? There it is. And I think, yeah, there was only about 700 screws then that go into the back of it, so I'll do that. And just be careful with these, you just need to nip them, you don't need to wrench them. You're screwing into up to 40-year-old plastic, so you don't really want to be doing that. So there we go. So yeah, it is my favourite Spectrum keyboard. I'm not saying it's the best from a tactile point of view. In fact, it's not even great, but it's my favourite purely for nostalgia reasons. And there's a good way. If you've got a YouTube channel and you want some aggressive comments, tell people that the childhood computer they loved has a crap keyboard. That's usually a good way to do it. I made that mistake with an Auric. Although I stand by it, I do think the keyboard's garbage, but that's my opinion, and we're all entitled to it, aren't we? It's not that I've got a problem with the computer as a whole, but there it is. So I think I put a video out a while ago and had a few obnoxious comments. Generally, people would post them and then delete them, which I think is always a bit weird. But for the most part, sensible comments, like people would post saying, I completely disagree, I think you're wrong, I think this keyboard's great. And that's fine. That's a perfectly respectable way to disagree. What I do object to is when people post comments or send me messages, which they did with that one, saying I shouldn't be saying things like that and how dare I and this has got to stop and all that crap, you know, that gets up my nose a little bit, because I'm entitled to my opinion as anyone else. People are perfectly free to disagree with anything I say, but you know, there's a polite and respectful way of doing it, and then there's the other way. Right, anyway, that's that back together. So, spacebar seems good. And the stabiliser bar's working correctly, the bounce is fine. The signs are good. Let's put let's put the board back in the case and get it all hooked up and make sure it actually responds to a keyboard input. Right, that should have all dried up just nicely, so let's put this back in. Bolt it down. And get the feet in. Springs. And I can put the top half of the case back. Oh no, hang on. Let's put the reset switch back in as well. Right. Oh, do you know what I haven't done? Completely forgot. Clamp these down. Let me do that now. Again, I'm screwing into old plastic. I don't need to wrench things. Just nip them up. Or if it's your computer, you know, do whatever the hell you like. But that's just my 2 pence worth, I suppose. Far be it from me to tell you what to do with your machine. See, that one's just spinning. That's not even biting. That's not even trying to bite. So that's been assembled in the factory and over tightened, probably. Okay, let's hook this up. And there we go. I won't put the main screws in yet because I am going to go back in and, assuming this is all working correctly, I'm going to go through and recap the system anyway. So yeah, I'll probably not include that in the video. This video is going to be long and rambly enough as it is. So yeah, let me just plug it in. Let me put a test cartridge in it, and we'll make sure everything works correctly. Right, some power to it. Cards in. Okay, let that cycle through, I suppose. Lower 16K is fine. Up, oh good, yeah, upper RAM's fine. Do. I've got lucky here, haven't I, with this? So far so good. Okay, I'll wait for it to boot up the Spectrum ROM and then we'll test the keyboard. And yeah, everything looks good. Excellent. Yeah. Well, I think, does my reset work? Oh, of course, so reset it. It goes. Forgot the card was still plugged in. It's going to do that all again, isn't it? Okay, yeah, but it seems fine. It seems fine. It wasn't really faulty as such. I've done a composite mod. I've replaced a couple of keys and given it a clean and a new keyboard membrane, and that's all it needed. That is a win. That's a good win. So I'm quite pleased with myself. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know when the next video will be. It might be a while. I might be busy setting up other channels as well. I haven't decided yet. Don't know. Kind of want to get the hedgehog one done though, you know. Anyway, if you've watched this far, God bless you. Thank you very much. Hope to speak to you all soon. Bye.